Greetings, everyone. Hope all of you are having an absolutely fantastic day. We're back again with more Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous. And this time, I wanted to go through the list of skills that you have available in the game. I know some of you are probably having problems trying to create teams that encompass all of the available skills in the game, and it might be useful for you to know, hey, this skill, you don't need to worry about as much. You don't have to specialize in it. So I thought we'd go through it and try to rank these 1 through 11. Obviously, there's going to be people down in the comments who's going to differ with some of the opinions I provide. That's perfectly fine. I just want to put information out there and help you all have as smooth a playthrough as humanly possible. One quick note before we get started. Honestly, all skills are important on some level. So even skills that are all the way at the bottom, it's not like they're trash. It's not like they serve no purpose. It's just that they're not as useful as compared to some of the other skills in the game. So if you're wondering, is there something like that just never comes up that you don't need at all? No, that's not the case. All of them definitely serve a purpose. And with that, let's go ahead and get in. So ranked at the bottom, number 11 for me, and it's at the bottom of the list. Use magic device. So if you have a high score in use magic device, it's going to allow you to activate wands and scrolls that you would normally be unable to use. Is that useful? Absolutely. It can be very helpful to your team. Do you need it? Is it really a requirement to get through the game? Absolutely not. Especially if you have your team set up with the proper builds where you already have access to all the spells that you need. You can go through the entire game. I'm sorry, I take that back. I haven't completed the game. I've only been through Act 4, but I went through all of Act 4, never using a scroll once in my entire playthrough, and it was not painful. It was not a big deal at all. So I rank use magic device at the bottom. You absolutely don't need it if it would be advantageous for you not to have it. At number 10, Knowledge World. Now, Knowledge World does allow you to brew potions. Do you need to brew potions? Absolutely not. If you choose to do so, of course, you can specialize in Knowledge World. It does give you some additional dialogue, like you'll be able to recognize and understand things that you wouldn't be able to without this skill. And sometimes when you go out into the world, there'll be little magnifying glasses that you can click on where it'll give you additional information and XP. There's a ton of XP in this game when you are able to pass a skill check. So is it useless? Absolutely not. But compared to some of the other skills that are just absolutely vital, I would rank this at number 10. At number 9, Lore Nature. Kind of similar to Knowledge World. It is going to give you the ability to pass some skill checks, learn more about dungeons or nature, and it delays fatigue to some degree when you're traveling on the world map. But honestly, I'm running a team right now that is very low in lore nature, and I don't feel the additional fatigue. It doesn't seem to me that it's having a real impact, to be honest with you. So again, is it useless? No, not at all. But if you can't specialize in everything and you're looking for something that you can kind of let go, I would say lore nature is something you can let go. It also allows you to skin animals when you kill them so that you could then go back to the store and sell those skins. But the money from that is minuscule. It's certainly not enough to justify putting skill points into here if you're starved for skill points. Next up at number 8, athletics. So athletics allows you to move a heavy object, climb an obstacle, things of that nature. Basically, you'll come up to these situations where they'll say you need to climb up a ledge or you need to do a certain task, and you'll have to pass an athletic skill check in order to be able to do that. Most of the time, when you need an athletics check to get somewhere, there's another way to get there. Athletics just allows you to do it maybe easier, quicker, kind of like a shortcut. Rare are the times where you have this athletic check, and then if you just fail it, well, then that's it. You just walk away. Also, if you have any sort of pets are absolutely fantastic to specialize in athletics. All pets, to my knowledge, come with athletics as a class skill. So if you know you're going to have pets in your team, you definitely don't need necessarily to have athletics on your person. Again, it has its uses, but it's not as great as some of the other things in this list. I put it very close to the same thing as mobility. So mobility, again, you'll come into these situations where getting into a particular area or moving past something requires a mobility check. I put it a little bit higher than athletics for two reasons. One, a higher mobility ranking does allow you to move past opponents without provoking attacks of opportunity. That's definitely very nice and something you can make use of. If you have 3 ranks of it, it's also going to lower the attack penalty that fighters take when they're fighting defensively. So that also gives it some additional utility. And if you are playing in mounted combat, mobility is a big deal. You need a lot of mobility in order to do that more effectively. And so because it has that variety in what's actually used for the skill, I do rank it a little bit higher, but I still don't think it cracks the top 6 list, which I feel like is pretty much solidified. All right, so at number 6, I have stealth. And the reason that stealth is so important is because it allows you to avoid random encounters on the global map or during a rest. If you get jumped during a rest, it's not pretty, especially if you don't have your sentinels up. Being able to avoid that, very useful. Keeping random encounters down to a minimum is also very useful. The random encounters in this game are extremely annoying. You can absolutely get wiped on a random encounter, and the game has no problems whatsoever throwing them at you back to back because you have low stealth. So I would absolutely say that stealth is a very important skill for you to have somebody specialized in. At number 5, I have persuasion, which gives you the ability to change other people's attitudes or opinions. This comes up a lot. There are a ton of opportunities in the game to be able to use your persuasion skill to be able to get something to go your way. And I absolutely feel like to have a real quality role-playing experience in this game, you just need to have that higher. And that's not to mention the effects that it can have in combat depending upon what type of build you're running. If you combine it with dazzling display or dreadful carnage or one of those other abilities that really make use of persuasion, it becomes even more important for you to have it leveled up. So I absolutely think it's worthy of being at number 5. At number 4, I have trickery, which allows you to disarm traps or devices, and it allows you to open locks on doors and chests. There are a ton of locked doors and chests in this game. You are always finding new gear, new items, things that even if you don't use them, they're going to be great to sell. To me, trickery is an absolute must. And the way that they've done traps in this game, which personally I find extremely annoying, a lot of times you can't even disarm the trap directly. It's got a switch somewhere in the next room and it's blocking off where you want to go until you disarm it. To me, being able to disarm traps is an absolute must. It's a requirement. So you definitely want someone on your team who specializes in trickery. At number 3, knowledge arcana. So trickery is great and important because you're going to get a whole bunch of special weapons. But how are you going to know they're special if you can't identify them? Knowledge arcana is what allows you to actually identify these weapons to know that they are a +2, +3, +4, or +5. If you're not getting better equipment, you're not getting through the game, period. So to me, it is an absolute must to have somebody on your team who can identify all the great gear and equipment that should be going into your inventory. This skill also is going to allow you to craft spells on scrolls, if that's your thing, if that's what you like to do. There are definitely some great uses for that. And it's going to allow you to learn spells from spell books and scrolls. So Woljit, for example, if he needs a particular spell and he has a spell level for it, but he hasn't been able to pick it yet during his level ups, he can get it from a scroll instead and add it to his overall repertoire. Very, very powerful, very, very good stuff. I think Knowledge Arcana is an absolute must. At number 2, I put Lore Religion. So this allows you divine spell scroll scribing during camping, but what it really means is that you're going to be able to do rituals while you're camping that is going to prevent you from taking on the full amount of corruption that you would usually take during a rest. All right, so in this game, it doesn't have sleeping supplies. You don't need food or a blanket roll in order to be able to sleep. However, while you are sleeping away from home base, you're going to take on corruption that is coming up from the abyss. And this corruption slowly seeps more and more into your body and can heavily impact your stats and attributes, causing you to have to go back to home base and rest. So essentially, the Lore Religion score for a good deal of the game decides how far out you can go from home base before you have to go back. And how many times you have to go back and forth to home base can have a significant impact on how long the game takes. So off of that reason alone, I say Lore Religion is an absolute must. It also gives you some additional dialogue when different religions come up, whether they're talking about Desna or Zankuthan or Iamade or whatever. If you have a high Lore Religion, it's going to allow you to recognize some of these situations and then respond with some of your own thoughts regarding whatever was said. Now, there is one caveat regarding this being at number 2. Like you could in Kingmaker, in Wrath of the Righteous, when your Crusade system opens up and you can start building things and setting stuff up, blah, 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 you can create teleportation circles, which is going to allow you to teleport around the map. When you are able to do that, obviously, taking corruption because you've traveled so far out is going to mean a heck of a lot less because you could just teleport straight back to Dresden. Therefore, I would say religion is ranked at number 2 until you get to a certain point in the game, which is going to vary based upon, how you've been playing, because everybody's building their stuff up differently. But whenever you're at the point where you could just teleport all around anyway, religion loses its efficacy significantly and drops out of the top 6. So just note that. You can always respec later on if you decide that, this isn't as important for me anymore. But definitely, at the very least, for the first 20 to 40 hours of the game, you're really going to need to have this pumped up. And then finally, nothing will ever change about this. And for this game, number 1 on the list, Perception, which is going to actually allow you to notice traps and hidden objects and determines your chances to be surprised in case of a sudden attack on your camp. It will also notice and uncover hidden locations on the map. So as your Crusader army goes out into the world map, it's going to use the perception skill of your actual team to determine if your Crusader army can uncover places that were previously not visible on the map. This is huge for you, huge, because what it basically allows you to do is not have to do a whole bunch of backtracking or just going in an area. Before, you basically just had to travel into an area just to see if a location would pop up, just to try to make sure that your perception hadn't missed anything. Well, now you can just basically let your army scout out these areas for you while your actual main character just specifically goes to the places where you haven't been to before and you want to find out what's there. So just for multitude of reasons, it is very important you are focusing on perception, preferably with more than one person. All right, you don't want a situation where you fail a perception check and therefore you end up walking over a trap, or you end up having to leave some loot behind. So you really want to have 2, 3, even 4 people that all have some degree of perception and can run a perception check to uncover an object. And that is the video. I hope this was useful. I hope I gave you all some information and perspective regarding these skills that you didn't have before. If you have any questions, if you're confused about anything, just leave the comment down below. Myself, my community, we are all very, very open and welcoming. More than happy to answer any questions that you have. If you like this video, please leave me a like down below. Share this content with anyone interested in more information regarding Pathfinder, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I will see you all in the next video. Take care.